Thank you for going on this journey with us for the past 6 decades. But now we look to the future.
Everybody always says the university's plan, and nobody ever says our plan. It is our plan.
I love the word, the pronoun our, because I think that will take the message to the brains.
I hope that university just commits to building leaders that will go out back to Atlanta or across the world and kind of just spread this newness of diversity and inclusion.
We want them to look at a place where they can see themselves.
So UGA's 2025 strategic plan outlines plans to make UGA a more diverse learning community. What checks and balances are in place to ensure that we can meet this plan?
I think when we talk about the 2025 strategic plan, this past summer, President Moorhead, in his A Path Forward for UGA message, he announced some critical task forces and committees that I think are going to help us in reaching the goal that you just mentioned. One of those being the Presidential Task Force on Race, Ethnicity, and Community, which is doing things right now to help create a more welcoming and inclusive environment at UGA. And that's important because as we look to recruit students to the institution, students, faculty, and staff to the institution, we want them to look at a place where they can see themselves. And so that's why that committee and the immediacy of their work is so important. And so thanks to VP Wilson for his leadership in chairing that. The other piece that was important is making sure that our ship stays on the appropriate track. And so that came in with our Diversity and Inclusive Excellence Planning Committee, which is essentially a detailed strategic plan. So similar to the 2025 strategic plan, we're creating one for diversity and inclusion.
I want to add to that real quick too, that I think as you ask about the plan, I'm very fascinated that everybody always says the university's plan and nobody ever says our plan. It is our plan. And I am pushing that it is a Black folk plan, it's a white folk plan, it's a student plan, it's a faculty plan, it's a disabled student plan. And so as we move forward, I'm going to be pushing for my role and the little power that I have on this campus to say that this plan for 2025 is our plan. So when people start saying, well, the university's plan, I want to say, let's talk a little bit about our plan. And I think that's important too, on top of everything that Alton's already there.
Thank the task force for putting together focus groups. I've been in 2 so far, and I think that adds to the checks and balances, making sure everybody's voice is being heard, all students.
One of the things that was missing when Hamilton and I started at the University of Georgia was the voice of everybody on the campus and the support. And we had support. Let me just say, there were professors who stepped up and some students who stepped up. At the same time, I think today, if everyone on the campus in every iteration is included, that's Black students, white students, because I think it's also important for the Black students to know that the white students are welcoming them and the white administrators are welcoming them, in addition to those who look like them. So I love the word, the pronoun our. And so I think that the attitude of inclusion and welcoming from every aspect of the campus and every color on the campus is extremely important. That will be a huge difference from what we had 60 years ago, although we've had it gradually over the years. But this is a moment to seize the day, and the day is ours.
I would like to direct this one question to Jalen. Speaking about that community aspect, as undergraduates and Black students, we have something called BUGA, and it's not an official club, but it's just what we call ourselves as a Black community here at the University of Georgia. So can you speak about our current community of Black students, Jalen?
Coming as a high school student, prospective student, BUGA was very welcoming. Bugga was what we call it Black UGA, and it's just a term for us to kind of connect with one another, whether it be in the dorms or the dining hall or take time or across campus. And honestly, it's encouraged me to get involved in the community. And yeah, I just think that it helps with support and making this campus feel a lot smaller. But more importantly, with housing, your first year, second year, being able to connect with people across the dorms definitely makes it a fun experience as well.
Can I add too real quickly? This is all about, and I think Charlene said this too as well, it's all about claiming something with a name. I will say, and I don't want to offend you as students, Bugga has always been here, but we didn't call it Bugga. In 1977, there was Bugga, because that's all I had. We didn't call it Bugga. So I love the fact that somewhere along the way, somebody gave it a name. Giving names is important to building community. And so when I first heard about Bugga, I won't show you the dance that I did, but I danced because we finally gave it a name. It's always been, I would say it was here in 1961. It may have been two people, and that was the Black community. So I think that the fact that we have Bugga, that we probably talk about Bugga, is very important to the community, particularly to the African-American students.
Don't forget that you are being watched, not just by Georgians, but by universities all over the South who can learn from what you're doing, because you are leading the way, as you should be doing. And so you are being instructive to so many campuses across the South, but not just in the South, up South as well.
I would add on to the question. Like with Bugga, I've been in like multiple conversations about the state of Bugga. How supportive is it? How inclusive is it? And sometimes like even like when we discuss that, like I just think like the meat of that conversation, it's really effective, because like we're kind of thinking how, like, what does it mean to be in Bugga? Like, how supportive is it? How inclusive is it to people that don't go to take time, people that aren't in majority like dorm halls where there's Black students. So I like those conversations as well.
I think it encompasses the entire Black community. And I think one of the good things too about Bugga is, as we always know, I like that when there's internal issues within Bugga, we talk about them within Bugga. And I tell students all the time, there are people watching us and they want us to fall apart. So we gotta, when we disagree and we have different issues or whatever, we gotta talk about it. But I love that that's the strength of Bugga as a community, because we're able to have those conversations and talk about who's not there and how it's changed or whatever. And someone the other day said, Bugga's gotten so bushy. And I said, well, what does that mean? And they said, well, but we were able to have that conversation within us as Black people in this community. And I think that's important.
I think the best thing about Bugga is that there's so much diversity within Black people, and that I can talk to, someone that has a completely different background from me. I'm from a small town in South Georgia. I came here, I saw all these people from Atlanta. I said, wait a minute. And I learned from them and I gleaned from them. And that's the opportunity that the University of Georgia has given me and has given so many other students. Are there any final thoughts? I appreciate each of you all for being here. Just grateful to spend some time with you. Thank you so much.
I will say I love how we will name something. It's a big difference in doing the way our culture roll, and we'll give something a new name and put a spin on it. It's a big difference in doing the electric slide and doing the hustle. It's a difference in doing a line dance and doing a stroll. So I love how we just give names to stuff that, we're not just an organization. Bugga is a people, a culture. It's a
feeling.
Ms. Charlene Hunter-Gault said it earlier, just showcasing to the world diversity and inclusion.
Leadership puts some role on you that others may not have, but you've had positions that others may not have. And so I think that it falls to you to go out and work in those communities, not necessarily political, but educational in every way that you have been benefited from. So I'm just thrilled to listen to each of you as you talk about your own commitment.
So just in terms of students that are about to graduate, like me,
Congratulations.
thank you. What do you expect out of us? What is our charge? What is our duty as we go forth and become alumni?
Your duty is to be excellent in the professions that you have chosen. And you have learned that you're not perfect. So how do you get to that perfection? You work at it. You work at it. And that's the one thing that Georgia should have taught you, is a discipline to be better and better and better. And also to share what you have learned there at Georgia with others who can follow in your footsteps, but also your colleagues. I mean, there are all kinds of ways that you can make a contribution. Every Thursday, I have a conversation with what I call my squad here where I live in Florida. And we share things. And sometimes we share with things that one of the other ones didn't know. And like today, I wrote them and I said, I need to buy a new printer. What kind should I get? Because some of them are more computer literate than I am. But at any rate, share what you have and learn from others and listen. That's very important, to listen so that you understand what people's needs are and how you can either fill them or figure out ways to help them fill them. Because you won't have all the answers, but you know from your discipline education there how to find them.
Thank you. Thank you. And we want to honor your time. So I think this is going to be the for real final thoughts. If anyone has anything left to say, now is your time.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add to what Charlene just shared, and I would agree with all of that, but also tell our story. Everybody in the world is telling our story. And when I call people sometimes and say, here's what we're doing. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day at the University of Washington, and he kept going, Georgia? And I was about to say, because we've known each other for a while, and I was about to say, look, we're about to lose our friendship. Quit saying Georgia. Yes, we are doing this, and you're not doing it at the University of Washington. And so I think what it is because somewhere along the way, we haven't told our story, but we need our alums to tell our story as well, particularly our alums of color. And see, ever since I interviewed for orientation, I knew you were going somewhere. So wherever you go, you particularly, and you and Jalen, you're the type of students that need to tell our story. I think that's important too, because we're not always able to tell it. And I don't know that people always believe it. They presume, a lot of folks, that we have Atlanta, but besides Atlanta, that we're all sitting on the rocking chair in the front porch eating moon pies and drinking RC Cola. And that's their perception. I mean, some people outside. So we've got to tell our story more. So I would say as an African-American alum, you got to help us tell that story and reach back. Call me like 10 years from now and say, if I'm still here, VP, what can I do to help my students of color? Reach back. Because at that point, I'm going to say, this is where I need your help.
Not only tell your story, but live your story. Because
Yes.
the way you live as an example is very important to the world.